Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Rams House podcast. We are here in episode 7, hanging out. Ethan, hanging out with Will and Joe. What's going on, gentlemen?
What's up, boys?
How you boys doing, man?
Not great.
You know,
Yes,
it's
I think we said that the last 3 weeks, probably.
Last two, yeah.
Last 2 weeks, yeah. Last 2 weeks, we have been
yeah,
great.
yeah, it was nice after the Niners win. Yeah, as you can see by the title, the Rams have fallen to 1-4 heading into the bye, and it's time to have some difficult conversations. We're going to recap the game, figure out what went wrong, what's gone wrong. Yeah, we just have a lot to talk about. So let's jump into it real quick, into the recap. And you know, the place where I want to start with the recap is pretty simple. And I know you guys are the copiaholics, so that might be in opposition to you guys, but I genuinely don't want to hear any of the excuses about this team losing. We have, and we said it every week, every loss, but the Cardinal loss, we should have won that game. We were the better team, and that was true again yesterday. And so we can talk about injuries, we can talk about all the issues that are plaguing our team, but realistically, it's coming down to coaching mistakes. It's coming down to bad clock management. It's coming down to red zone problems. It's coming down to, poor quarterback play and inconsistent play as a whole. I mean, the execution's been bad. There's been some, which is crazy because like a couple weeks ago I was talking about McVay's having his best season as a Ram, and then it just feels like it's all totally falling apart on us. And at some point, we have to look in the mirror and figure out what is going wrong. It's just, there's some things that are becoming, in my opinion, like undeniably something you cannot, defend or kind of copium your way out of. So I'm in a mood where I don't want to hear the excuses. We could have, should have won 3 of our losses, and poor play, poor coaching has really taken those out of our hands and put us into a hole now where realistically we're probably done. And we can drink all the copium juice we want. 1-4 teams simply don't make the playoffs. I don't know what the exact numbers are, but I guarantee you, if it has ever happened, it's only been a handful of times.
Sure. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm with you, Ethan. I mean, as far as the no excuse thing, I totally agree. The Packers were banged up too. I mean, those receivers they had on the field were not better than ours. I mean, Wicks. I mean, Reed's a good player, but we have a couple of good players too. Whittington, Tutu's fine. They did not out execute us at all. I mean, if you look at I don't think their offense played particularly well. I don't think Jordan Love played particularly well. I don't think their defense, out executed us. We just simply did not execute that well. And I think, 2 things are true. One, in those 3 close losses we had, if we had our guys, our starters, we probably win those games. But no, I agree with you. It's not an excuse. We should have won all 3 of those games. Now, I don't know if we want to do the full-blown conversation right now. I still have a tiny bit of copium in my cup, just as far as the fact that our schedule gets a lot more favorable. But today, I don't even know if I want to go optimist mode. It's hard to do it today. There's no excuse for that loss on Sunday. I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm not actually, real quick. Just let me rebuttal to that. I just looked it up. This is old. It's on Reddit. It says 7 teams have made the playoffs starting 1-4. This is 9 years old, but I can't imagine it's happened more than a couple times in the last 9 years. So that's a thing. I'm not actually sure our schedule does get easier, to be honest. There is still a lot of tough opponents coming up.
I guess I just meant in like the next 5. I know we got Oakland, we got Miami with no Tua, we got the Patriots.
We got the Vikings, who are probably
the Vikings
5-0, probably the hardest team we played all season. The Seahawks don't look bad at all.
Yeah.
And then 2 less Dolphins, but also like they got to be the most likely team in the NFL to make a trade for a quarterback. And
possibly.
The Raiders' defense has been pretty good most of the year, and then they're going to be they're going to be making a change here at quarterback, it sounds like. So we're going to see Aiden O'Connell instead of Minshew. Minshew's like gifting games away. I've got a friend who's a Raiders fan, and they have a lot of good parts of their team. I mean, Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers are a great combo. They got a decent old line. Their running game is. I mean, it's like there's stuff coming up. The Patriots is probably the easiest game on the schedule. The Eagles have been pretty bad. I mean, it's not. I don't think it's necessarily harder, but I don't know how much easier it actually is.
Yeah,
But I'm the negative one, so don't listen to me.
No, I mean,
yeah,
what you're saying is fair.
no, that's cool. We're probably all gonna disagree about that one, so we probably can talk about it, at length, for probably a whole episode. But real quick, Will, I know you mentioned that they're out execute us. I wish I should have sent the stat before we started, but it's actually a graphic that perfectly states that. It's a graphic that shows each offense efficiency, and the Rams offense was about league average, right above league average, and the Packers offense was almost bottom. It was like bottom of the league bad. So
Oh,
that just
dude,
shows you. Oh, go ahead. What you say?
no, they were like, I just had to pull it up. They were 1 for 8 on third down. How do you
Yeah,
lose a game where your opponent is
yeah.
1 for 8 on third down? How do you give up
We gave that
24
game.
points? How do you give up 24 points? I know we're going to do defensive takeaways, but how do you give up 24 points to a team that literally didn't get their first third down till the fourth quarter?
We gave that game away. It was so too many times, like because I know we talked about not stopping the run. Josh Jacobs, he did have 73 yards, but he was only it's 3.8 a carry. And
Right.
he really didn't get going until like the end. He had some cold plays in the beginning, but I didn't really think we lost to Josh Jacobs. I think
No.
we just lost to they threw a lot of screens. Something that's been kind of I've been talking about. It's been kind of apparent that teams have been just getting the Bears did it where they see okay, we don't have to throw the ball downfield against these guys. We can just run these screens, short passes, and we're gonna just make them miss and get yards after catch. And I think that's been beating us a lot. Ethan's probably gonna go into it, but Stafford, I know Will, you said it. This was probably Stafford's worst game of
Yes.
the year.
Agreed.
Probably he did a lot of weird things. And I do want to talk about that this episode, but I guess we can wait. But he did a lot of weird things that he hasn't done all season in years, to be honest. And I think it was a bad one, man.
Yeah, like it hurts that we didn't even get the Packers like close to their best shot, and we still lost. And we get a pick six. Like
I
you have
forgot
to win
about that.
that game. You have to win that
And
game.
it's crazy. Is
Period.
Jordan Love was awful.
He didn't.
It
He
was
played
bad,
poor.
man.
I was surprised, man. And I'm not even saying like I'm not like a huge Jordan Love guy, but man, I mean, one fluke pass to Reed, but besides that, he didn't play well at all, man. We had him
Long
actually. That's
coverage.
one of the few positives is I think the pass rush did a decent job getting to him, or I don't know. He just didn't play well. But man, yeah, exactly. It's like Jordan Love didn't play well. Josh Jacobs didn't run well. Their third down offense didn't get going. Like how it's almost strange how you lose that. Well, turnovers, right? I guess that's one simple
We lost
answer.
it.
You turn the
Turnovers.
ball over
We
twice.
beat ourselves. We beat ourselves.
Yeah,
That's how we lost the game. We beat
killer
ourselves.
turnovers. Yeah,
Yeah, I definitely think the turnovers are problematic. There's just so many momentum killers though on both
yeah,
sides of the ball for us, and not even just turnovers, like just some bad passes, some bad runs, some bad play calls, like all the above. You kind of are getting like every time it felt like we were getting going on offense, for example, we would just have like a crazy bad play or a penalty or something, just and all momentum was just sucked out, and maybe that's partly due to the fact that we are missing people, and momentum is harder to come by and all that jazz. But
yeah.
man, I'm just not here for the excuses. And I think the most disappointing part of all is that the guys that you expect to carry you along the way when you're dealing with injuries and you're having struggles, your Hall of Fame quarterback, your Hall of Fame coach, and your All-Pro running back, I think have been, in my opinion, the most responsible for our losses this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we can go over that in detail, but let's go ahead and get started more thoroughly through this Packers game. Offensive takeaways. My number one offensive takeaway is in the midst of all this pain and sadness about our season kind of falling apart, I do have the ability to be excited about the fact that I was right about Jordan Whittington, and he's a stud. And actually, I think that was one of the big mistakes we made this game is that we didn't scheme him more, and Stafford didn't get him the ball more. He didn't get the ball for like 2 quarters. I want to say he had like a couple of big catches in the first quarter, and then he like didn't get the ball again to the fourth quarter or something like that. Or it was a while. I remember he had like two catches pretty quickly. Maybe it was first and early second, and then I don't think he touched the ball again until the freaking fourth quarter. And I'm going, he killed it on his first two catches. He's just got such great hands. He's great run after the catch. So I guess my offensive takeaway is going to be this. I loved what I saw by Blake Corum, and the fact that he didn't get any second half touches is criminal. We should Will and just bring some indictments down on Sean McVay for that. It's insane. And then Whittington looking great. Bo Limmer looking great. You guys see the trend I'm going here with? Offensive rookies looking great. And then take it away
guys
from
you
there.
don't expect, guys you wouldn't necessarily count on. You wouldn't think you'd have to count on.
2 6-round picks,
Right.
killing it. And then our third round running back finally gets out of Sean McVay's doghouse, gets a few touches, looks good, and then never plays again.
Yeah, that's a head scratcher, man.
There was a couple runs. There was his first run, a work of art. I mean, we were it's funny because I was talking about how explosive his kind of like his juke is, or his like his cut is, and that first run was like cut. It was like 4 cuts in a row for like 8-9 yards, and I was like, he took what was like, no offense, because I know we argue about it, but like he took what I think probably would have been a 1 or 2 yard gain for Kyren and turned it into 8 yards.
Yeah.
That was like pure magic. He did stuff that Kyren just isn't capable of doing, and then he took that really kind of garbage screen pass play for 8 yards where we were like, oh no, because we're so used to seeing Kyren get tackled behind the line of scrimmage on those screen plays. It's like, oh no, he's in trouble, and then he made a guy miss, and then just bolted upfield for 8 yard gain. And it was like, oh, this is possible. Like,
yeah, you don't have to bounce into your linemen or into defenders. You can actually bounce off of defenders.
I thought it was a penalty to do that, but
Yeah,
it's
he
good
looked
to
great,
know.
man.
But then again, we didn't see him, and Whittington looked great, and he disappeared for 2 quarters, and I remember distinctly seeing him open multiple times, and I don't know if it's Stafford not throwing the ball or him not being schemed, but like, can we just stop this whole high school charade of like, we have to give we have to give the hierarchy to the seniors, and they have to play more snaps because they've been here longer. I don't care about any of that. I only care about winning football games. Who is going to help me do that? And yeah, I was really disappointed that we didn't see more Corum and Whittington. They played great. Bo Limmer played great. The draft class continues to shine, continues to look phenomenal, and that's my offensive takeaway.
Yeah, I just want to touch on Whittington and Corum since you started with those. First of all, Whittington, man, he's one of the few bright spots of the entire season for me. I mean, that's one of the only positives I have from this whole game. And I just want to say the only silver lining to Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua being out is really that this guy gets more experience and more development.
Totally agree.
He can really play. He's the real deal. Complete package. I know we've already talked about it, but good blocker, great hands. Guys, run after the catch. He had another one where he caught it like 3 yards short of the sticks, and it looked like there's no way he's getting the first down, splits a couple of defenders. Love Whittington, man. And guys, on that last drive when Whittington had to leave the game, I'm not even being dramatic. I was like, it's over, because he was the one guy that I really had faith and trust in that he's gonna find a way to get open. And sure enough, on that 4th down, we're forcing the ball to Parkinson. I'm like, man, if Whittington is there, it sounds like I'm like overhyping the guy, but I truthfully think if Whittington is still in that game, it's a different story on that last drive.
Do you think you're hyping Whittington? I think Whittington has 4,000 or 5,000 yard seasons ahead of him. He's a really good receiver.
I believe it. And then on Corum, man, it's actually like funny. It's like, okay, so we don't play this guy for whatever reason. Then finally McVay decides to give him some carries, and he looks great. And he looks great. But then you just inexplicably stop after like a few great touches. It's like he comes in, looks great, and then you just stop.
You know what's crazy about that is that Kyren was awful after Blake played. If you guys remember, Kyren had the 30-yard run where he was totally untouched, right? Like, untouched entirely for the whole 30 yards. And then he had a play where he had like 12 or 13 yards where he, again, was untouched until the end. And so he had like a solid 45 yards-ish amount of yards and 2 runs. I think both of them were in the first quarter. And then Blake had his carries in the second. So you're talking about 2 carries, 45 yards. The remainder is 20 carries, and what's left is 62 yards.
Yeah.
Actually, Kyren played pretty poorly after that. His best runs were all in the first quarter, and Kyren had a great first quarter. And he had a couple of really spirited 3rd and short and 4th and short runs and all that jazz. He did great in short yardage, as he always does.
Yeah.
but Kyron didn't take the job back, and it wasn't a situation where it was like, oh, Kyron's playing so good you can't afford to put Blake in.
Right.
It's like it's actually the
Right.
opposite.
No, yeah, it's totally head scratching. And actually, yeah, I told you guys during the game, and I'm not trying to be funny. I think I've found what Kyron's strength is. He is a great short yardage back. If you need 1 or 2 yards, he's great at that. There was a couple 4th and 1s where they weren't necessarily easy conversions, and he got them. That's his strength. But guys, I guess the silver lining is so yeah. On one hand, I'm frustrated that Corum didn't play more, but on the other hand, I'm also happy that he got the carries over Ronnie Rivers, so it at least looks like it's trending the right direction. But he's got to get more touches.
Totally.
Yeah. Real quick, I got a couple takeaways myself. I thought the offense was, like we talked about, Stafford was pretty bad. He had a 47.3 QBR, which is awful. Like, dude, he
And
had a
honestly,
5.8 average.
that's probably generous. They love Stafford.
Yeah, that's really crazy. But to skip past that, my offense take away some good and some bad. You got on the Kyron guy, and to me, Kyron did well. I like Kyron's game. I think he did. To me, I think the most thing that I respected a lot was when it got time for us when we needed those yards. Kyron got those yards. I know some people are downplay it and say it's short yardage, but
Those are tough yards. Those are tough
those
conversions.
tough yards because the game could have ended way earlier than it did. And
Hmm.
they put the ball in his hands when Stafford couldn't get it done. They put the ball in his hands and he did it. I appreciated that about Kyron. I think of course, you guys don't think he was good, but I think he had a good game. Jordan Whittington, of course, he was great, man. He's
Yeah.
super bright. He's a super bright. It was one play. Me and Ethan were watching it. I think Ethan might have missed it, but it was one play he caught it and he's made 2 guys miss, and he just stretched out for the first down.
Yeah.
And that's just it's something that Les Snead has done a good job of, even though we criticize him here and there for certain moves. But what he did a good job is he gets receivers that know how to play after the catch. And I
Yeah.
think in this NFL we're in, I think that's super important. And Jordan Whittington, he's probably one of the best in the whole entire league, not just on our team, in the whole entire league. I think he's one of the best. Um, those are all my positives because this game wasn't really that positive. Just to go a little negative, offensively, I don't want to harp on him because we've been talking about him a lot, but I have to say it again. Matthew Stafford was, to be frank, he was awful, and he had so many times where he was finicky in the pocket. Me and Ethan talked about it. He looked scared at times for some reason. I know he's one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the league. I know that, but he's always even when we first got him, he got sacked a good amount. Last year he got sacked a good amount. He wasn't like this, like he was yesterday. And I said earlier that I want to see how he looks after the bye, just to see is he still finicky and scary as he was, because he did the interception, which is bad.
It was horrible,
It,
man. It was a
he just
horrible
he just
interception.
tossed it. He tossed in a double coverage to Tutu Atwell. I
Yeah.
love Tutu. But Tutu Atwell is like 5'8",
Yeah.
5'9",
With
and he
stilts.
tossed a
It
jump
was
ball to
horrible.
Tutu Atwell in double coverage. That was just
It was
awful,
bad.
man. And then the throws he had to Toby Parks in the end zone, he threw it 3 feet over a 6'7" guy, 6'6", 6'7" guy. He threw the ball 3 feet over somebody that's NBA height.
Yeah.
Dude,
Twice.
like that's
LeBron
twice,
hype.
2 times in a row, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, he almost hit the goalpost of the ball each time, man.
Yeah.
Stafford was just bad, man.
Yeah. No, he seemed out of rhythm all day. Even Tony Romo, who was actually annoying me a lot during the broadcast. But one valid point he brought up was that it seemed like his clock in his head was off all day. It was either like he thought he didn't have as much time to throw as he actually did and would like force a throw or rush a throw, I mean, when he actually had more time, or he just completely lost track of the rush
Held the
and
ball
would
too
take
long.
horrible. He took a sack on a third down when we were in field goal range on the
Yep.
35-yard line, where it's like that's every quarter. All 32 QBs in the league know like the one thing you can't do is take a sack here, and he takes a long.
I
sack.
think all 3 sacks were his fault, actually.
Yeah.
Listen,
I mean, it
and
looked like it.
listen,
Yeah,
bro.
it looked like it to me. He held it too long on all 3 of them. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and listen, like that's mental, man. And
Yeah.
I was listening
He,
to Shannon
yeah.
Sharp earlier, and he was saying that when those quarterbacks get to the point where they mentally can't do it, it usually becomes a downhill. You go down slope after that. So hopefully it's not that, and he can get it together after the bye. But if it's mental, man, that's super concerning.
We'll have we touched on this before the season about how much longer Stafford has. We're going to touch on that next week's episode because it's the bye week. We won't have a recap to do. We'll touch on that again after 5 games about whether Stafford is on a downward trajectory or not. I think that's a really important topic to have. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. All the unsung heroes, all the backups, all the guys you don't expect to do much have done quite a lot since the injuries occurred. Alaric Jackson's been better than I thought he would be. Bo Limmer's been a stud at center. You know, in fact, I thought Dotson was much better this game. Havenstein was decent. The O-line has been pretty good the last 2 weeks in both pass and run protection.
Yeah.
You know, you're down to your – at this point, you're really down to your next 3 receivers with Whittington, Tutu, D-Rob, and the occasional sprinkling of Xavier Smith. And I think Tyler Johnson's been frozen out altogether.
He only came in when Woody got hurt.
Yeah, and then you've got you're talking about Hunter Long and Colby Parkinson, your backup tight ends. I mean, but they're all playing adequately. They're all playing good enough to win ball games. And the guys that you count on, Matthew Stafford and Kyren Williams, to carry the offense have just not. And I know I'm trying not to be I'm not going to lie. I just don't like Kyron's game. I don't like his vision. I don't like his decision making. I think he's too slow. We could go over that. But so I'm naturally inclined to not like Kyron, but I have a hard time seeing such great run blocking. And I'll give him credit on the 30-yard run. I did say he wasn't touched for 30 yards, but he also made the right decision and took the right hole and showed good vision. That's what you're supposed to do. But then he kind of reverted back to just same old Kyron, who just, running like he's Ray Charles playing the piano, except for minus the being good part.
And the fumble cost us the game. The fumble he had was the absolute killer of the entire game.
That was the funniest thing because hold on. Joe said when Stafford wasn't cutting it and we needed Kyron to bail us out. Yeah, he fumbled when we needed him to bail us out. That's what happened.
I forgot about that.
On a really good drive.
Listen,
okay. No. Actually, I want to. Can we dive into that real quick? Or you want to talk about it? I actually want to pull the play-by-play up because we talked about it before we started the podcast, and this was the situation. We went into halftime up 13-10, and we were in stream. We were talking about it like, hey, it would be really good for us to score a touchdown and go up by 10 points because Jordan Love was struggling, and it was just for like the good time to just go up, force Jordan Love to throw the ball, and it was a great drive, dude. Great drive. We were just marching downfield, and then right before we got in the red zone, fumble. And it wasn't even like a lot of fumbles. You're like, okay, that was a great play by the defense. It really wasn't. It was a light tap on the ball. Corum, you don't deserve that. You don't deserve to be mistaken for Kyren Williams. But yeah, it was a light tap on the ball, and Kyren it popped right out. I mean, it was one of the worst fumbles I've seen. In just the fact that it didn't take much to make him fumble, and he's literally it's a halfback dive and dude's hanging onto the ball like he's holding a frisbee. It doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
So
and then that was a bad turnover, and then like we talked about Stafford, next drive,
then they touchdown. They take it 70 yards down and 43 seconds, of course, because what did we see on that pass? We saw a wide open Tyler Kraft, and then Stafford's interception, which was just those were just horrific turnovers.
Horrific.
It wasn't even a good play by the defense either time. It was just like, here, freebie.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're talking about when we lost the game, we went from going up 10 to down 11 I mean, look, it's so fast too because they scored in 43 seconds. They scored in 4. So before the third quarter was even over, they scored with 4 minutes left in the. They scored with 4 minutes left in the freaking. In that third quarter. So in 11 minutes, it went from us being up 3, potentially going up 10, to being down 11 in 11 minutes time of football. That's crazy.
I just want to say about Stafford too, because I see a lot of Rams fans, people in the fan base, talking about how like, oh, he doesn't have his receivers and he doesn't have his linemen and he's expected to be perfect and he's expected to do all this. And look, I'm probably the biggest Stafford guy out of us 3, but I have the opposite take. I'm like, look, I called you a top 5 quarterback in the league, and I believe that. Probably number 5, but top 5 quarterback. Sure. You're supposed to elevate everybody. It is the opposite of, Well, he doesn't have his guys around him. No, that's what an elite quarterback does, though. They take an okay cast, and it's whatever the cliche phrase is. You're supposed to be a rising tide that lifts all boats, right?
Sure.
And he's just not doing that. You need him. I mean, you could look at Josh Allen the first 3 weeks without great receivers. He was balling. Like we need Stafford to do what a franchise elite quarterback is supposed to do and carry this team, and he's simply not doing it.
And it's not like we asked him to do it all 17 games and make the playoffs.
Right.
We're asking him to do it for a short period of time,
Yes.
3 to 4 games. Can you get us 3 to 4 games? That's all we want.
Yeah.
I would argue, and this might be haterade, but I would argue that to an extent he is being a little carried by the rest of the team. The receivers, we got to remember who they are. They're backups. They're backups.
Oh yeah, that's
I wouldn't go that far, but I think they're playing well for backup and for what
Jordan Whittington is playing better wide receiver than Matthew Stafford has been at quarterback.
Whittington, I'll give you. Whittington is the one guy where
Tutu.
I think he's playing great.
He's been decent.
He's been decent.
I'm talking about the collective as a whole.
The ball, though.
I'm talking about the collective.
The
Yeah, throwing the wide open receivers, cool. The totality of it, right? We're talking about the receiving core has been good enough. They're part of the reason why we're in games. The O-line has been good enough. They're part of the reasons why we've been able to be in games. And at the end of the day, the receiving core and the O-line is good enough between the 20-yard line and the 20-yard line. Who and what is falling apart in the red zone? It's Matthew Stafford and it's Sean McVay.
Yeah.
The O-line suddenly isn't becoming horrific in the red zone. The receivers aren't suddenly becoming horrific in the red zone. No. Matthew Stafford's throws are inaccurate. They're not on time, or he's missing open guys, or he's throwing interceptions, and the play calling is suspect. Like we called an end around on a 2-point conversion.
I hated that call, and I hated the 2-point conversion call we had against Chicago too. So that's where we threw a fade to Demarcus Robinson. Like,
terrible.
No, thank you. That's two 2-point conversions and guys, like, the thing about, I don't know, I had this in my notes. It's just kind of like a half-baked thought that I had, is that it almost seems like McVay needs like more of the field to draw up good passing plays
100%.
and good passing concepts, where when they shrink down to like the 10, the 15, the 20, I don't know what it is, but he can't get guys open. Like, and it's not an either or thing with Stafford or McVay for me. It's both aren't playing well. So I'm not trying to absolve Matthew Stafford, but the concepts, the guys are not getting. I mean, that first red zone trip where, yes, again, both things are true. Stafford throws 2 bad passes, but I went back and looked at those plays a couple times. No one's open. And if your best option is trying to high point a football to Colby Parkinson, I don't like that. Draw up something better, man. Draw up something better, man. You're a genius, Sean. Like, I know you can.
Yeah, I agree that the plays could have been better, but also I think Colby was pretty open on both those plays, and could have caught either pass. But yeah, whether he was the only open guy or not is. I'm not saying it couldn't have been worse. Better. I'm just saying it could have been worse. It wasn't a terrible play call. If it's a better throw, both of those could have been touchdowns.
I think if Stafford puts it on him, it could have been a touchdown.
But that's part of the problem.
I'm just saying,
when Sean's calling a good play, Stafford's not throwing the ball well, and when and then vice versa, it's
right. No, that's what I'm saying. They're both not playing well. That's the bottom line.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
I agree. It's an equally yoked thing. You could probably put it right down the middle, 50-50 probably. That Stafford, he's messing up some throws, McVay not calling the right plays, and because we're bad in the red zone in general, even though we're running the ball the most, which is something that I wish some people would stop talking about. Stop talking about some of the fans out there. They keep saying we need to run the ball more in the end zone. Kyren Rush has, last time I checked last week, he is rushing the ball the most out of every running back in the NFL in the red zone. We run the ball in the red zone. The issue is we can't score. Whether it's throwing it or running it, only way we score when we run it is when we're in like between the end zone and the 5-yard line. In that little area we can score. But if it's anything in between the 25, from like the 10 to 25, we can't score it doing anything else. So it's crazy.
Which is ironic, right? Because it goes to the point we're talking about where like Kyron's good in short yardage, but if it's like outside of the 10 in the red zone, Kyron can't run that far. Yeah. Stafford's struggling to hit people. The play calling's bad. It's just like our top 3 guys. That's why I am saying I blame them, is because the receivers, the O-line, all the backups are doing well enough between the 20s to move the ball, to move the chains, to make things happen. And as soon as it gets to In the red zone, if it's too far, Kyron's a non-factor. If it's close enough, Kyron's doing well, but Stafford and McVay are non-factors. It's or the opposite. They're actually hurting the team. But it's crazy because we went from a eighth best red zone. Let me put this on the screen. We were the eighth best red zone offense last year. Right here, we scored on a TD on 60% of our red zone attempts. To 2024, you have to flip it upside down to find us at what looks like the eighth worst. So we went from eighth best to eighth worst in the matter of one season.
Hopefully, after the bye week, man, they get something together. Because they got to get fixed, man.
Puka's a solid red zone target. Cooper Kupp's a solid red zone target. But guess what? Guys are getting open. Passes are being missed, or we're just calling some insanely bad plays, like halfback toss on third down in the red zone for real. Like screens in the red zone. Man, come on. We're better than that. We're better than that. Whittington is a reliable target. Give him a slant. Let him do the old Sammy Watkins slant, catch and drop into the end zone. Like, he's capable of that. You're telling me Jordan Whittington can't freaking do the little quick out that Kupp does in the red zone all the time? Of course he can. Like, give the guy some chances. It's just crazy. All of the totality of the mistakes are just, they're piling up. And yeah, I guess it's controversial. I'm saying Stafford's being elevated, but I guess what I'm more meaning is he's not being hurt the way we thought he would be by the missing players. They're good enough to be. We're driving the ball downfield most drives, and a lot of that is. By the way, we've had Tutu wide open. We've had Whittington wide open and great after the catch and great contested catches. We've had Colby making some guys are making plays outside of Stafford and outside of the play calling, and it's just the lack of execution. So let's go ahead and turn now to the defensive side of the ball, defensive takeaways. This one won't take nearly as long because it's same old. The first thing I want to touch on though is, and this is one of the things where I'm talking about. It's starting to become Sean McVay's fault to a large extent, and I'll give you a couple reasons why. Number one, what did we do great against the Detroit Lions when the pressure was constant? We had written up a quick passing offense that really negated the pass rush. Remember that? Hutch had like 48,000 pressures and just a couple of 1 or 2 sacks. Like the Lions fans were getting frustrated with how infrequently they were getting home, even though he was being pressured. There's a great game plan. We talked about how great the game plan was, how much he set up everyone for success. But the last 2 games, and even though the pressure wasn't insane like it was against the Lions, why aren't we still using that quick passing game in the same way that we were? Stafford's obviously feeling uncomfortable. He's obviously feeling pressured. He's obviously feeling a little panicked. What could be more calming than a quick passing attack where you don't have to worry as much about the pressure and you get into a nice rhythm?
Right, rhythm.
And so, like, I know this is defensive takeaways, but my point is coaching mistakes, right? And we're talking about the fact that Blake Corum has less than 10 carries at this point in the season, and he's showing us in each carry that he's a capable back, and he may be more capable than Kyren Williams, especially between the 20s, right, as a guy who runs in open space. So I chalk that up to a coaching mistake. Not to mention, we're going to run Kyren in the ground. He's going to get hurt.
And I totally agree. Actually, I think it's a good point. Since you went there, I'll just quickly say too is, what our best drive of the game was when we were in hurry up, because it was I think 24-13, and we had that drive to cut it to 19-24. So to your point about the quick passing game, maybe we should just run a little muddle huddle and just hurry it up
every now and then.
Quick passing, get in rhythm, stay in rhythm, keep the defense not able to substitute. Because I agree with you. The times we've looked best, it's a good point, because the times we've looked best were, that Detroit game with the quick passing game and that little 2-minute drive. If you
we did it against the Niners too. We did Niners too. Yeah.
Right. And it's that's funny, the most annoying thing is when we do something that works and then for some reason McVay goes
never
away from
again.
Go ahead, Joe.
You know what's funny, man? Thinking about the quick huddle. 2017 through 2019, that's literally what we did. That was our thing.
We did that all the time. Yep.
Rush to the line real fast, get teams caught off guard. I don't know why we stopped that. I guess some defense caught up to it a little bit, but as I've been seeing this year, we don't have to do it every time. Teams will adapt, but if we can pick certain drives during the
every now and
game
then,
just to go as fast as you can. Okay, let's go
Yeah.
quick. You
2
see
3
it
I
drives
think
a
work?
game.
Stafford just at his best in that situation for whatever
Yes.
reason.
Yeah,
Like that's
yeah,
just how Stafford wants to play ball. Like
Agreed.
he just wants to
right.
keep it. Yeah, but anyway.
So, yeah, excellent point. It's a continuation with what I'm talking about, though, is an extension of the questionable game plans, considering how many backups we have, the questionable lack of use of Blake Corum. I moved to the defensive side of the ball where we're supposed to be and talk about Bobby Brown getting heavy snaps over Tyler Davis and was it Ganville was his name?
Gallimore.
Gallimore. I actually got his name right last week, and you guys were getting it wrong, and then now we flip flop.
Are you thinking of Greg Gaines maybe?
Yeah, and then
I missed that guy.
dude, don't even get me
I
started.
would love him.
He
right
would
now.
he
I
would
love
actually
Greg
low
Gaines
key
right now.
he would be the perfect nose tackle for this team right now.
Oh, yeah.
And he
Oh,
went
yeah.
just so you guys know, he went for 3.5 million this offseason. That's
Yeah,
all
I
I'm
know.
going to talk about it. But so we're talking about Bobby Brown because you know what? There was a couple drives last week where we had or yesterday where we had Tyler Davis in and we had Gallimore in, and the run defense looked much better. I'm just telling you that right here, right now. In fact, there was a really nice stop in the red zone that we had, and Gallimore was in. No, it was Davis, and I was like, oh, because I remember I was like, oh man, somebody got a lot of pressure up the middle, and they tackled him for a loss, and I was like, who was that? And I was waiting for all the bodies to come up. I was like, oh, that was Davis. I'm starting to really
Against
like Davis.
San Fran, you're talking, right?
No, yesterday it happened. Yesterday.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
there was.
No.
And then, so we're talking about that mistake from. I mean, look, Bobby Brown is just not a good NFL player, and we've seen some bright flashes from both of the backups, Davis and Gallimore, and then the linebacker situation. It's just utterly inexcusable to me about how Troy Reader and Christian Rosenbaum don't just get the starting spots. They don't just get a lot of snaps. They get all the snaps, all of them. And I don't think I'm being hyperbolic when I say that they're two of the worst inside linebackers in all of football. And
No.
before I know you guys want to chomp at the bit of that, but before we go there,
All time.
another
All-
coaching mistake,
two
in my
worst all time.
opinion.
I'm gonna say all time, bro. Who's all time?
So we're talking about the coaching mistakes, right? Another coaching mistake, in my opinion, is a healthy scratch on Tre'Davious White is
Oh
criminal.
my God, what was up with that?
And-
man? Did they ever say
No.
what the deal was with
Sean
that?
McVay said it was a coaching decision. It had nothing to do with health. So it was absolutely a mistake by the coaching staff. And I'm going to say this up front because I think it's important to state. But I have zero doubt in my... If you guys ever watched Tre'Davious White play, even in the first 4 games where he was quote-unquote bad, I guarantee you without a shadow of a doubt that if it was Tre'Davious White on that deep ball to Reed instead of Ahkello Witherspoon, who didn't know that he was playing football, the guy was looking for the soccer goal nets. He didn't know what he was doing.
Lost.
If that was Tre'Davious White, who I've literally never seen lost on the football field, I've never seen him confused, who's aggressive to attack the ball, that's at the very least an incomplete pass, and it's a pass deflection by Tre'Davious White, if not an interception. I want to remind you guys, not you guys, but Joe, we were in voice together, and I'm telling you, as soon as the ball left his hand, Joe yelled out interception because it was a lofted ball into triple coverage. And you thought to yourself, there's no way in hell this ball is going to
Bro, I was like, no way
caught.
it doesn't get intercepted, bro.
You know what? The ball was lofted so poorly, Joe first yelled out interception, and then as it was still traveling through the air, he said, there's no way this is caught. That's how much time we had.
McVay was way too nice about it too at the little halftime interview. He was like, "Oh, it was just a perfect ball by Love. It's tough."
not a
It went
perfect
right into
ball.
it.
It was
I don't
not
know
a
if you guys heard
That
him say
was
that. I
a
was like,
terrible
"Bro."
pass.
I was like, "Bro, what are you talking about? Are you trying to like cover your own ass for putting
Bro,
in Ahkello? Like
That was a terrible pass. Dude, any other, I'm willing to say this, any other team in the NFL, that's an interception. I bet you money. That ball was lofted up. There was so much time to track the ball and catch it. It was a piss poor throw, piss poor decision, and a piss poor effort by Ahkello. And look, I guess that's the best Rosenbaum has. It's hard to fault him. He's just not any better of a football player than that.
Yeah, I don't fault him on that specific play. Lake also had a shot at it, but I'm less mad at him than Witherspoon, obviously. Yeah. He played the ball.
He played the ball. I think it was muted for that second, but he played defense. He was the only one of the 3 who even played defense. Like, it might not have been good defense, but it was defense. I guess that's what we're at now as Rams fans. If anyone on our secondary plays any defense at all, it's a freaking 2 thumbs up play.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. My takeaways is one, I'm gonna say one positive thing. I have two positive things, but I'm gonna say one of them for my stock up. But my one positive thing, I do want to get a shout out to Darius Williams, D. Will. He
Yeah.
had a
Yeah,
really, really terrific game, man. It's
great
some
game.
stats on it. He gave up one pass. He was targeted twice. In the
One
pass he
pass for
gave up
10
was 10
yards.
yards. Yeah, man. Shout out Darius Williams. He had a hell of a game. I'm so glad
And
he's back.
real quick on that play you're talking about, just for
Yep.
clarification, it was 3rd and 36, and D. Will gave up that 10
Yep.
yards on purpose as a part of
Yep.
keeping them from getting a first down. So
Yep.
realistically, D. Will played a perfect game at corner.
Yep. And then
Yeah,
remember
that's
that
great.
when we were watching the game, remember that play, he broke up that ball. It was like a third down or something. It was a deep out to the
Yep.
sidelines. And he dives
Oh yeah,
backwards and he broke it up.
great
Yeah.
defense. Yep.
Great defense. D Will had a hell of a game, man. But that was probably I got another positive, like I'm gonna save it. That was probably my only positive. Jared Verse was himself. He pressured.
Yep.
Brandon Phillips himself. They didn't really super stand out like usual, but they were okay. They were decent enough. They got to Jordan Love. We blitzed a lot. They made him uncomfortable. Made him a couple of balls. But like you said, Reed and Roseboom. I'm gonna reiterate again. Those are two of the worst linebackers I've ever laid my eyes on ever in my
To
life. And I've watched horrible teams, bro. I watched horrible Rams teams, and those linebackers were better. Like
to
these linebackers, this is the worst we've ever had.
Yeah, I agree. To add on to that too, because it was in the same stat and it's on my mind is
Mhm.
Akelo, who's remember we started him and benched Tre'Davious White for him. But Tre'Davious White has been looking better and better every week, so that's the crazy part. It's like he's improving, not going backwards. Akelo led up 3 catches for 65 yards. Three targets, 3 catches, 65 yards. So he was quite literally
Yeah,
awful. And that
yeah,
doesn't include the deep ball. The deep
Yeah.
ball did not. I think that was credited to Quentin Lake, not to him. So he could have deflected that or intercepted that easily. And beyond that, so that's one awful play. Beyond that, he had 3 other bad plays where he was just bad and predictably bad. It would have been nice to see him in the slot and to see him as a support role and give Tre'Davious White another opportunity. But man, it's just to me, it's coaching decisions. It's getting iffy. It's getting undeniably bad. It's getting to the point where you can't really make excuses for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. One real quick thing, Will, right before you go, just one super quick thing, and just to expand a little bit more on Reader and Roseboom. One of the things that, like I said before, that it's been making it worse is the screen game has been killing us. It's because we have two linebackers that can't do the most simplest things. They can't shed blocks and get to the running backs. That's all.
Yep.
That's all I have to say.
And they're very slow to diagnose plays. They're always
Yep.
like
Oh my
just
gosh.
a step and a half slow to even find out what's going on.
Ah,
I don't even
oh my
like.
gosh.
By the way, I think Roseboom is worse than Reader. I think Roseboom is literally the worst linebacker I've ever watched play. I don't want to go. I'm actually going to get kind of angry if I go more on it, but I've said enough. Like he's horrible, man. That's it.
Yeah.
Just one positive I'll say is last drive of the game when we needed to stop, we got to stop. That's a positive. That's
True.
well done. That's all I can say. Like, well done. Again, I mentioned this at the beginning, but on one hand, they were 1 for 8 on third down. But again, I think I said this is like the flip side of that is okay, then how the hell do you lose the game and give up 24 points? But I mean, that's still a positive, I guess. But again, the other flip side is like they were getting so many explosives on first and second down that it almost didn't matter. Like guys, this game is just one of those games. It's where I really realized that this defense is just it's so undisciplined. Like constantly missed tackles everywhere, all over the field, not playing the ball well in the air, miscommunication in the secondary, bad angles on contain. Like it's on every level of our defense. Even like we have talent on our D line, but the discipline's not there.
Yep.
Linebackers, there's no talent, but the discipline's not there. Secondary, we can argue about the talent. Discipline's not there. Like it is an undisciplined defense, and that drives me crazy. Just mental mistakes, miscues all day. I mean, they let Tyler Kraft rumble for like a whatever how long touchdown it was because there was more receivers on that side of the field than we had DBs. Like, I mean, I don't know, guys.
Sounds
I don't
like
know
coaching. Sounds like coaching.
it's too many. It's like it's weird because it's all things that hypothetically are fixable, right? Because you can fix those things, but I don't see it happening because it's everywhere and it's every level of the defense, and my hopes are not high that it's going to get fixed right now.
You know what's crazy is we looked historically, and one of the things that we always heard in the past, right, when people talk about some of the level of excellence we've displayed in the past, is that Sean McVay has such high standards.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm just, where do those standards go? And I'm not even trying to be funny. Like, there's no one's going to convince me. Here's the crazy part, right? It's like it's the same thing with Corum and Spates and Hummel, right? I don't need them to start. I don't need them to play most of the game. It's 5 weeks into the season. They're rookies. I understand. But where the hell is any snaps for any of these three players? You're telling me that they're not good enough to even get in on a couple of plays every now and then? That is utterly inexcusable to me. It doesn't make any sense. You're not going to convince me that they're not good enough players to at least see the field at some point in a game. That's where it gets a little bit insane, and it really starts to anger me. It's like, you're not going to convince me that Spates is so much worse than Roseboom that he can't even take a couple of snaps away.
Ethan, I swear to God, Ethan, I swear to God, you are not worse than Reader or Roseboom. You are not worse than them.
Dude, it's just I can miss as many tackles as they are. It's not that hard to miss tackles.
It's the same thing. You might as well just go out there. It's the same thing.
I can effectively get blocked. I can effectively miss tackles, and I can effectively play poorly in a zone and allow tons of passes right over my head. I can do all those things. But like that's what I'm talking about. It's like, okay, if you want to really be a super Sean McVay homer, and I respect it, he's a great coach. He's one of the greatest Rams coaches of all times, and he saved us from 20 years of oblivion, right? I understand being in love with Sean McVay. But even the most ardent Sean McVay lovers cannot defend the idea that these guys aren't good enough to get any snaps. It's indefensible. And so, as I thought about it this weekend and after yesterday's game, I'm just going, Sean's making a lot of critical mistakes. We know it was the Bears game where he wasted 1 or 2 timeouts in the second half to not have a delay of game penalty. It's like the clock management issues are still a problem. The red zone play calling is a problem. The situational play calling is a problem. Stafford is struggling situationally as well, and somehow we can't even – it's getting worse, not better. It's just like It's crazy to have a Hall of Fame coach and a Hall of Fame quarterback, and we seem to be headed downhill on all these special important moments, and we're struggling to get basic things correct. Look, at this point, you could sit me in a room with Sean McVay for an hour, and he could show me film and explain to me why Omar Spates isn't getting snaps, and I would literally just be like, I don't believe you. Like, no one's going to convince me, not even the man himself, that Omar Spates doesn't deserve to get a handful of snaps. It would be argument. If he was getting snaps and playing poorly, that'd be different. But he's not getting any snaps at all, and I understand you don't want to rush him, all that jazz. First of all, we're playing for our lives here. We're playing for our season right now. I don't give a crap if he's an undrafted free agency. We're playing for the whole season right this moment. So play the young guys who definitely haven't sucked nuts all season long, right?
Yeah.
It just, you have nothing to lose at this point.
No. I would challenge any viewer to point to me, give me 3 snaps in a game that Christian Roseboom Christian Roseboom made a good play. Like, you made a similar point about the secondary. A good play for me for what my standards are for this guy at this point for Christian Roseboom is like being late to the ball carrier and then just not whiffing the tackle. It's gotten to the point where if he like actually makes the tackle even when he's late and gives up like an 8-yard gain, I'm like, oof, okay, like thank God. Like, a good play for him is not effing up completely. Like I'm so tired of seeing it, man. Like there's no way on earth that Spates could be worse. So I don't know what they're waiting for.
To your point earlier, because you said it quickly, and I want to make sure it's reiterated because it's super important. And this is one of the reasons why I get frustrated with Kyren Williams and both inside linebackers, is because those positions are very instinctual and very driven towards, what's the word I'm looking for? It's driven towards quick decision making, right? Yeah. And you used the word for it earlier; it was more eloquent than that. But basically, we've watched the film, and I've done a film breakdown off stream before, off pod before, and I've showed multiple occasions where Roseboom and Reader on a run play do not move before the running back has crossed the line of scrimmage. Just think about how bad that is.
They
And
just stand there, bro.
hey,
For the
you
first
want to know
30
how?
seconds of every snap.
You know what's crazy is the average running back on a handoff is behind the line of scrimmage for like over 2 seconds, like over 2.5 seconds. I think the fastest in the NFL average time behind the line of scrimmage on a handoff is 2.7 seconds. That's the fastest in all of football. So these guys have a play where 2.7 to 3 seconds goes by and they haven't moved yet. I can't even wrap my brain around that.
Those two guys are just so awfully disgusting that it's just.
But
And
who is
Shula
still
is a
playing
line-
them full time? Who's playing them full
Shula
time?
and Shula is an ex-linebackers coach. So it's either A, you should know that these guys aren't playing well, or B, if you're a linebackers coach, it's your job, former linebackers coach, you should be getting at least the most out of that you can from them to make them like okay. So
He's getting the most out of them possible. They're just trash.
that is you might be right. That might be the most they got. Fair enough.
Not to
I mean,
pump up Shula because I think he's been pretty bad the last couple games, and we could talk about that during the next week's podcast. But they're so bad.
Yep.
All right.
All right, we
real
beat
quick,
that.
real-
We beat
real-
that
real
horse
quick.
right there. They're bad. Both of them are very bad. All right.
Go ahead, Joe.
Real quick, just to give people out there and you guys just a little ray of sunshine. Jordan Rodriguez of the Athletic, she's the reporter for the Rams. If anybody doesn't know, he said that in the article she wrote that she could sense that there's going to be some moves being made. That there's going to be some guys, it's going to be some things getting moved around, some players getting moved around. So if you guys believe that, hopefully that's Rita and Roseboom getting shifted to the off the team, actually not the bench. I mean, just off the team like home. They get shifted there. So hopefully that works out.
Wait, hold on, Joe. When you say moved around, are we talking like internally positions, starters and people getting benched? Or are we talking about like
I wish I could get you the correct quotes, but she said something along the lines of,
I don't think details were given.
There's going to be some. It's going to be. Yeah, it wasn't super detailed, but based on how I was reading it, it was saying that she could sense that it was going to be some things being shifted around. I don't know if that means guys permanently getting benched, but I'm thinking we see some new guys getting
actually,
rotated in.
I do remember one part of that quote and said, part of the reason why I think this is Jordan talking, is because we saw a big move this week with Tre'Davious White being benched. So maybe the moves are all going to be bad. Maybe Braden Fiskey's going to get benched. Maybe Cameron Curl's going to get benched. Maybe the only guys playing good are going to get benched. Who knows? Because at this point...
And quickly on the Trey White thing, because I've been with you the whole time, Ethan, that I think he's been playing fine. I almost, it makes me think something weird, like a trade, or I don't know, maybe a trade is coming or something, because that's just too weird to me, man. He was playing fine, and there's something strange about it. I don't know. I think there's just something more to the story.
All right, let's go ahead and head to our stock ups. This is going to be tough. Jordan Whittington offense, done. Go ahead.
I can go. My stock up offense is Alaric Jackson. I think he had a wonderful game. He had a PFF pass block grades 85.7. He only gave up statistically one hurry. He didn't give up a sack, give up a hit. He got one hurry, which was one pressure. So I think Alaric had a really, really good game. And I like Alaric. Some people, you guys are really don't really like him that much. He's not the future to me, but I still think he's a fine left tackle. And I think he will be all right with him.
I hear you. Pass protection, I think Ethan said it before, the phrase is, it was good enough. It's the NFL, man. You're going to get, obviously, there's a couple sacks, there's a couple pressures, but I think the pass protection was good enough. So I hear that. My stock up is pretty simple. It's Blake Corum. I had him on stock down the other week because I had, I guess, lost faith that McVay would finally get his head out of it and put him in. And I was complaining that Ronnie Rivers was getting snaps over him. Finally, they did the right thing. Ronnie Rivers didn't see the field. Blake Corum got touches, looked good. Stock up Blake Corum.
You know what's crazy about that, though, real quick, is now it makes you, for me at least, it makes me go. So it's pretty clear now because not only did he have a good catch and run, he had a few good runs. He also had an amazing blitz pickup. I don't know if you remember that blitz pickup he had, but it was coming off the edge. He literally just dove into a dude, and it was actually a baller blitz pickup. And ironically, it was in a game where Kyron, who's usually very good in pass pro, got pancaked 3 times by a blitzer, and the best blitz pickup of the day was actually Blake Corum. So now I'm wondering why the hell was Blake Corum not playing over Ronnie Rivers the last 4 games, because clearly I saw nothing to convince me that was deserved. Yeah, the reason I gave such a fast stock up on offense was because I wasn't too happy. But stock up on defense. Oh man, that's actually a tough one. I'm just gonna say that the continued showing out of Fisk and Verse and Byron Young and Kobe Turner. All four of them were good in this game. They were the four lone bright spots on defense. And Kobe Turner got 2 sacks. There were several tackles
Turner
for
was
loss.
great.
You know what, though? I was told Kobe Turner has been invisible all season long.
Yeah, that's bullshit. Yeah.
So,
Which was,
okay.
I never. Anyway. I never
So, yeah. So, anyways, those 4 guys continue to get pressures. They continue to be good against the run. The most impressive part about that is that they're playing with the secondary being trashed, the linebacking crew being trashed. They're really solo carrying the defense in a lot of ways. Yeah. And you got to remember, they're first and second year players. So, like, the future at D-line is bright. We just got to get literally anyone to play nose tackle who's not Bobby Brown. And that D-line is set for a long time. So, yeah, stock up. Young D-line members, bam.
Yeah, I'm going to be repetitive this time. I stock up on defense. Since I already shouted out D. Will, I'm going to go specifically just Kobe Turner. He stood out to me the whole game. I thought Kobe Turner, not only did he have a good game, I thought he had a dominant game.
I agree.
He had 2 sacks. He had he had a couple of tackle for losses. He had a pass deflection, which was pretty crucial. He was pressuring the QB. I think Kobe Turner is a dog. I think he's one of the best. I know Ethan said, I think he said he was like probably a top 5 defensive interior defensive lineman right now, top 3. I think Kobe Turner is that guy.
After this last game, I think Kobe Turner is going to be number 2 to Dexter Lawrence, who just keeps dominating. Yeah. But like you're talking about Dexter Lawrence and Kobe Turner and maybe Chris Jones. And Kobe Turner right now is playing as a top 3 interior D lineman in the NFL, which is mind blowing.
Kobe Turner is like that, man. He's got to be one stock up for last game. Yeah,
it's crazy because people thought he would take a big regression after AD left, but he's actually stepped
up.
Which
is dumb. Like a good player is a good player, man. He's going to work. It may take a while, or it might be a little different because Eddie's not there. But a good player is going to work no matter what.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, that's a good one. Totally agree. Yeah, we did mention it, but mine is Darius Williams. Pretty self-explanatory. He played really well. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I believe one of his pass breakups was on that last drive where we really needed to stop. And then it's just especially impressive considering it's his first game back from injury, and he looked, he didn't look rusty. So stock up Darius Williams.
I'm telling you, it's crazy that we had to say this, but we were looking forward to Tre'Davious White, cornerback 1, Darius Williams, cornerback 2, and then Kobe Turner in the slot. We were looking forward to seeing that, and we could have this week. Yeah, Kobe Durant. What did I say? Kobe Bryant.
You said Kobe Turner.
Kobe Bryant. So many Kobe's. There's so many Kobe's.
Kobe Bryant was a great defender.
Yeah. But so yeah, I mean, Trey White. Realistically, I know we've talked ad nauseum, but he's a good cornerback 1, and D. Will is a great cornerback 2. We could actually have a above average secondary if we just get the miscommunications in order and we start doing better play calling and scheming. That's on Shula. We also have to play the right people, which seems like it's an impossibility. And maybe if we play Spates and Hummel some, then we'll stop having to have the safeties and corners cover as much for those inside linebackers, which may also help. So there is, you want a little shot of copium? There you go.
Yeah, I'm twisting my fingers. I'm twisting my fingers and hoping that this is just a 1-game thing and that Trey White's back next game after the bye. I pray that happens.
It's still
I hope he doesn't.
I honestly will go as far as to say that if Trey White played this game, I think we win.
Well, the big touchdown probably wouldn't have happened.
That touchdown wouldn't have happened, and he's good, man. He's good, and they had their backups playing. D. Will and Trey White could have ate them alive. I really think that's true, but.
This is just a genuine question I have. I actually don't feel strongly about it at all. In fact, I would much prefer Trey White have played over Akello. Is there an argument to be made that outside of that horrible play where he didn't play the ball that he played fine?
3 targets, 3 catches, 65 yards outside of that ball.
Oh, you're saying? I think you said this already. The 65 yards doesn't count that long completion, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so and I think on a day where Jordan Love really wasn't, throwing it around the yard, that's, I wouldn't.
But Will, I will say that if Akelo's out there as like a CB3 with Trey and with D
Yeah.
Will, then he's
Totally.
fine. He'll be fine. Yeah,
A CB3 or
I
even a
agree.
slot, I think Akelo's pretty physical.
Yeah,
I don't think he'd be bad in the
yeah.
slot. All right,
Yeah.
let's go ahead and move to stock downs. I told you I had a lot to get off my chest, Will. So we thought it might go short, but we're actually running at normal times here. um, Actually, we're running longer than recaps than normal. So okay, so my stock down on offense is going to be, you know what? I'm going to repeat last week. It's the trio of Stafford, Kyron, and McVay. I feel like they're letting the offense down. I feel like the defense, as bad as it's been, has played good enough to win a game. The other supporting cast on offense, who are mostly backups, are playing good enough to win the game.
Yeah.
And when you need your big guys to carry you, your Hall of Fame coach, your Hall of Fame quarterback, and your All Pro running back, they're giving you at best below average performances, and that's not
Yeah.
good enough.
I just want to say I like that take in the sense that, and I think we've already kind of said it, but like again, the guys that quote unquote weren't supposed to be good, right? The guys that you weren't counting on, you didn't
Yep.
expect to be good, are actually playing pretty well. And then your all pro quarterback and your Hall of Fame coach and your all pro running back are not playing up to those, that status. So I think I agree. I mean, I think it's a good one. So it is
Yeah,
frustrating.
yeah. Will, you can go ahead since you were already looking.
Okay, stock down offense, guys. Okay, I went back and forth. So it's Colby Parkinson. I went back and forth on it because
That's a good one. That's
for
a good one,
one,
actually.
for
That's a good one.
one, I was like, okay, well, Stafford missed him a couple times, so that's why I was kind of back and
Three
forth on his
times.
goal. Yeah, 3 times. But I'm
Badly.
still gonna stock him down, guys, because I think even outside of those plays, he's just not what I was hoping he'd be.
That's
He
fair.
doesn't get separation. You know what really bothers me about him too is he's a huge guy, and I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but he gets tackled like
Yeah.
instantly. Like there are plays where I don't know if you guys remember this. There was like a third down. We give it to Parkinson. He catches it like 8 or 9 yards in. There's like a little DB on him, and it's like a play where
Yeah.
you're like, surely he's gonna get the first down. He's 6'7". He's gonna drag this guy for another 2 yards, and he just like instantly goes down.
He looks like Tutu
Like,
running after the catch.
yeah, yeah. It's like we're not taking. He's like not. He doesn't use his frame. Like I don't think he's taking advantage of his size. I know part of that is Stafford's missing him, but it's still on him on some plays. He's just not. He's just not. Simply put, he's just not the receiving threat that I hoped he would be. So I'm gonna stock him down. I don't think he's bad,
Yeah,
but
yeah. No,
he's a stock down because he's not as good as I hoped.
I think he'll be better equipped to get open once we're fully at strength. I think he's one of the guys who's hurt by the lack of Puka Nakua and Cooper Cup more than anyone because his area of the field has shrunk tremendously in this situation. But his yak is really disappointing, and his hands are not great. But we've seen him have to make a lot of contested catches because he's not getting that separation like we had hoped. So I understand the stock down. I still have some copium on him for the future because I think when we're at full strength, he'll get a lot more. Like I remember the last couple of years, Higbee's just constantly open, and I feel like Parkinson's has never been open. And watching the film, it doesn't feel like it's all his fault. It feels like a lot of it is the shrunken downfield. So,
Right, and that's why I was back and forth on it. I hear you.
but you were high on Parkinson, so it makes
Yeah,
total
that's
sense.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I like that one. My stock down is just more being repetitive. It's Matthew
Kyron,
Stafford.
wait, oh, not Kyron.
Oh
My bad.
no, I should have did Kyron stock up, but I forgot about the fumble, so I had to change my mind. I had to do an audible.
There
Change
you
my
go.
mind the last second. But it's Matthew Stafford, my stock down. Now you guys know I'm a glass half full type of guy. So I I think, and I'm pretty confident that after he gets the bye week to rest, I think he's going to get together. I think we're going to see a different Stafford after the bye. But right now his stock has to be down. Even though I thought he was okay the first 5 games, but if we're being realistic and base it off the Stafford that we usually see, he's been below average the first 5 games of the season.
Yeah.
And last game to me, it just put it all together in a nice present that he's just been really, really bad. And last game was just the top of that. He was awful. He was finicky in the pocket. He was rushing things. He was scared. He was doing things he shouldn't have. Like Ethan talked about, he was taking sacks that they shouldn't have took. I think right now I'm gonna throw some cash in there and no, not throw cash in, but I'm gonna take cash out
Yeah.
and get in
Let
bust
me
started down.
let's elaborate this a little bit. And
Hmm.
5 games into a Matthew Stafford season, okay,
Yeah.
and he's got 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's actually, let me pull this up because I think it's important. He's throwing. It's hard to see, but it's right here. If you guys see right here, he's throwing touchdowns on only 1.7% of his passes. It's far and away the lowest of his career. In fact, the second lowest would be 2.8 up here in 2012. So it's been 12 years, and even as a Ram, it's far and away his lowest as a Ram. He threw a ton of touchdowns. The Super Bowl season, he was at 6.8. We're talking about 4 times higher, 3 or 4 times higher. So it's been bad. And then you're talking about strictly passer rating. How did I get here? I lost his page. Strictly as a passer rating, we can look at it right here. 78 game 1, 77 game 2, over 100 against the 49ers game, best game of the season, and then 94 and 85. His overall passer rating as a whole is down to 86.3. That's lower than 2022. Just to put it in some perspective, he's doing worse statistically than 2022. So I think that's absolutely fair. And yeah, I think
he got to turn it around, man. He has to.
it's totally fair also to say that part of the reason why that is a thing and why I'm criticizing him is because Matt Stafford has high expectations. And to be fair, I have high expectations for Rams quarterbacks. I'm a fan of the team and I expect my quarterbacks to play well. So in that sense, yeah. So let's go ahead and go to stock down on defense. Man, it's just like it's so many choices. Where do you head to? You know what? I'm gonna go a silly direction. I don't even care. I think our biggest mistake right now on defense is coaching decisions. I'm so sick and tired of seeing the wrong person at nose tackle, the wrong person at both inside linebacker positions, and then doing silly things like in the first 2 or 3 games, Kinchins was getting some snaps over John Johnson. John Johnson was balling his brains out. You know, you have stuff like Trey White getting benched. Not even benched. Healthy scratched. Just, bro, what are we doing? And then some of the schematic things we've done. I've seen Michael Hoyt in coverage like it's Raheem Morris too many times. I've seen Byron Young. I've seen Jared Verse in coverage. I'm seeing the edge rushers in coverage too many times. In fact, we'll try to see if we can find some stats on that. How often those guys have been in coverage compared to, but it's too much. There's too much silliness going on defense. Just play football, man. Just freaking rush 4, rush 5, put the rest in coverage, and play ball. Play the right people. Stop playing scrubs because they have seniority, they have experience. Nobody cares. We're 1-4. We're about to be eliminated from the playoffs for real. There's nothing to lose.
Yeah, because it's getting to the point where the Raiders game, even if we were already dead, the Raiders game is just basically if we lose that, that's just we're double dead. Like we're in the grave and we're throwing dirt all over us. It's literally over if we don't.
If we lose the Raiders game, it's time to start watching freaking quarterback college film.
Yeah, no more copium if we lose that game. That's it. That's my list drop.
That's the super nail in the coffin.
But so who's your stock down though?
Me? Oh,
No,
Ethan.
I'm not asking Ethan.
Coaching.
Okay.
Whether it's the wrong people being played, getting snaps, or the wrong schematic calls or bad play calling, the defensive coaching, which includes Sean McVay, which includes Chris Shula, which includes guys that I love like Aubrey Pleasant with this secondary miscommunication nonsense. I'm done, bro.
Okay. Well, I was gonna let you go, Joe, but mine is so similar that I think I'll just jump in. I just had Chris Shula. I think I let it all out in the defensive takeaways, so I'm not gonna harp on it too much longer. But it's a lot of the same things that Ethan said. It's a lot of the same things we've all said all episode. Just an undisciplined defense, missing tackles left and right, taking bad angles constantly, and I just want to use this one player as an illustration or as an example. Cam Curl, man. Cam Curl, I will go to bat for this guy against anyone about how good of a player this guy was in Washington. The film does not lie. Nobody can tell me that Cam Curl was not a good player for the Washington Commanders. And he comes to our team and all of a sudden he doesn't look good. Again, this is just an example to illustrate like this guy didn't become a bad player overnight. we're not utilizing our players correctly. Like he has strengths and weaknesses. We're putting him in spots again for the third time.
Yep.
Just one example, but we are not putting our players in spots where they're being successful, and that's like the most important job of a coach.
Yep.
Stock down Chris Shula. I'm seriously doubting that this was a good hire, guys. I'm like really honestly
Also,
worried about it.
to the point we both just made, when one player has execution and finishing problems, like tackling, it's a player problem. When all of them do,
Yeah,
it's a coaching problem.
exactly.
The defensive players are not ready to finish. They're not communicating well. It's so easy to blame the players for that, but it's happening with everyone, and it's happening consistently. At some point, you go, okay, the coaching here is not good enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think we're all perfectly in sync. I had the same thing, Chris Shula, and I think it's because I know we've been harping on McVay and decisions he made, and rightfully so. McVay deserves he deserves a big piece of the pie of blame. But I know how we got on Raheem Morris, and at the end of the day, Chris Shula. I'm sorry, he's literally the defensive coordinator. So I think we got to get to the point where we have to start honing in on him of right now how bad of a job he's doing, man. It's not only like Will said, Cameron Curl goes from the Commanders. He's a good player. Then he comes here. He has some nice moments, but he just doesn't look the same as he did it with the Commanders. So, and then
Right.
also another thing we always talk about, Chris Shula, you were a linebackers coach. You should know what linebackers should be able to play and what linebackers shouldn't be able to play.
Yeah.
Why are Christian Roseboom, I keep messing, but I'm not saying his first name. Why is Roseboom and Reader on the field?
Yep.
It's just crazy. And why do you keep playing them? Like, even if you do have to play them, is there any ways you could make them better somehow? Like, even though they're awful, is there any ways you can
No.
put them in a different position to do it?
No.
I don't know, man. It's just that I think we need to start honing
You
in
know what's
on Chris
crazy?
Shula a little bit more.
You remember for the season what I said was put those guys in short zone. They've been sucking
Yeah.
there. They've
Yeah.
been sucking
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
And just
You
to
could-
put it into some perspective for the people out there, because it's an important point about Chris Shula.
Yeah.
Here's our stats for our team. It's hard to see because it's a little cut off, but this is the bottom rows are defensive stats. Points for, 29th in the league. Points against, 29th in the league. Yards against, 29th in the league. Then we have passing yards, 20th, 28th in touchdowns given up, 22nd in interceptions. We only have 2. 32nd in yards per attempt. Then we have the rushing side, 28th on attempts total, 32 on rushing yards, 22 on rushing touchdowns, and 24th on rushing yards per attempt. We're quite literally the worst across the board on everything. And then you say, okay, well, we've given up. We had a lot of turnovers, blah blah blah. Then you go by the average drive, 37.4 yards given up per drive, 31st in the league. Points per defensive drive, 31st in the league. So even if you want to make excuses about how bad the offense has been, it's inexcusable because we're bottom 5 in every stat, whether it's time per drive, yards per drive, or points per drive. The defense is bottom 5. Look, I didn't like Raheem Morris. I thought it couldn't get much worse. But here we are. And we have more talent. We have Tre'Davious White at cornerback number 1 over Caleb Witherspoon. We have D. Will over Darion Kendrick. Bro, we have Cameron Curl over whoever was playing strong safety last year because it switched every game.
Remember the very first episode we recorded? We were talking about, is this the most talented secondary we've had since 2020? And it was a fair question.
On paper,
the personnel is there, man. And look, even if it's not as good as us 3 gave it credit for, or whatever Rams fans gave it credit for, it's good enough, man. It's good enough to not be horrible. Period.
But see, the individual pieces are good enough to be the best secondary we've ever had, but they're not being utilized properly. And like I said, part of the blame for that is Aubrey Pleasant. It's got to be Aubrey Pleasant. It's got to be Chris Shula. It's got to be the linebackers being played. All of the above, right? Because you know what? This is the best pressure team we've ever had. Not like lately, like ever.
Without Aaron Donald, that's pretty crazy. Actually.
Our pressure rate is the highest I think it's ever been through 5 games. So it's not that. It's everything but that. It's the run stopping. It's the secondary. It's just, dude, it's bad. And I think all of the above are to blame.
And I'm not gonna get to the point where I'm not all the way on the ship of Fire Shula, but I'm checking in to the boat. I'm giving them my ID I'm giving them the cash. So I'm walking to the boat, but I'm not all the way there yet. As far as Shula,
I
I
have
need to
some
see.
bad news for you.
Give me I need at least a 10 game sample size or something like that. I just need to see it. But
If the Raiders
no,
go up
no.
and down the field and score, I think that'll be it for me.
I'm
Without
not
Devontae
gonna.
Adams, most likely though, they probably not gonna have Devontae Adams by then either. So it's gonna if they do that, it's gonna be crazy.
I have bad news for both of you though. Sean McVay don't like to fire his friends.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
That train ticket, y'all are paying hard cash for that train ticket off the onto the fire Chris Shula train, and Sean McVay says, "Oh no, your ticket's expired. Sorry, we don't accept that."
Yeah, with Raheem, we had to wait till he got a head coaching job. Problem is, Chris Shula's not going to get a head coaching job.
No,
so
he's not.
you're right. I think we may be in
The
trouble.
only thing we can't do is hope that he turns it around, bro. Because that's the only thing we
I
can do
agree.
is hope that he turns it around.
I'm not. I haven't lost all hope. He's done some things well. He's done some things poorly. He's a very young DC. He probably got the job before he was ready and deserving. To be fair, there was some nepotism there, but it's been bad, and I think it's fair to call that out.
Yeah,
Yep.
I agree 100%.
You know, I didn't. I wasn't sure. None of us were sure how long we'd go with just the recap, but there was a lot to get off our chest. It's therapeutic. I feel better about everything
I
right
do
now.
feel a little better. Yeah.
The copium building up inside me as we speak, man. The copium is rising to the top of my head, man. I'm ready to just
Oh, I didn't gain any copium. I just got rid of the anger.
I gain copium, baby. I gain.
I mean, look, the one thing I can say along the copium lines that I guess it was mentioned, but 3 of those L's could have been wins, and
Should have been.
It's equally frustrating and annoying, and I'm so upset about it. But you know, you could argue. You could
one more
argue.
game.
You could
One
argue
more-
if
one
a
more
few
shot.
fixes, a few players come back, like we're not a bad team, you know.
But
One
like,
more shot. baby.
That's
One more
why.
game.
That's why my stock down is the 3 people that it is, because I feel like those are the 3 guys that you expect. They're veterans. They're superstars. Those are the 3 that you expect to carry you in this difficult time. And it wasn't like we're getting blown out and our backups just aren't performing well enough.
Right.
We should have won all 3 of those games. And the guys that you expect to deliver were throwing interceptions, calling terrible plays, playing the wrong people, fumbling balls, refusing to see the correct holes, whatever you want to call it. And so, yeah, that's where we're at. But guys, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate if you comment, like, subscribe, all the above. Appreciate you guys watching, supporting us. We're 7 episodes in. It's been really nice. So
Thank you, everybody.
appreciate the love, the comments, all the likes, etc. But that's it for this one, guys. We'll see you next time.
thanks for watching. See you guys.